How's it, everyone? Welcome to the same old Arsenal USA. I am the Bearded Gooner, joined as always by Glenn, Stan, Ars Bros, Ryan. Rowan will be here any minute. I am sure we have a lot to talk about, a lot of opinions, a lot of thoughts on yesterday's result. So we're going to get straight into it. So Ryan is off camera. I believe he's getting his beer of the week. So we'll go counterclockwise, and I'll start with Glenn down below me. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing as well as can be expected for someone who's not happy with that draw.
Tell me about it. Yeah, Stan.
I'm doing very well, mate. Got a couple of days of work tomorrow on Friday, so I'm back on set. So I'm looking forward to getting back into doing some work and looking forward to chatting to all of you guys.
Yeah,
about what's gone and what is to come.
Perfect. I'm not even sure. This is going to sound dumb. I'm not even sure. We are. Okay. We are online, or we are up and running, broadcasting live right now on YouTube. Okay. I just got an error message on my computer screen that said that we weren't, that this wasn't working. So, but apparently we are working, and that's good. Ryan, welcome back. How are you?
Good. I'm a little better than Glenn. Maybe not as happy as Stan. I can't find my fucking birth certificate to get my marriage license, so that's fun. So yeah, I'm tearing the house apart. But I could. There's other ways around it. I know people.
Any excuse will do, Ryan.
Yeah, as we say in London, that old chestnut. Sorry, love, I couldn't find the birth certificate. So
Sure.
I just an FYI to the viewers, I am very distracted tonight because I'm watching the baseball game, and I will be doing so on my phone. So if you see me constantly looking down, I'm looking at my phone, watching the baseball game, the Astros and the Red Sox. Perhaps a little known fact about me, I'm a massive Red Sox fan. So obviously watching since it's game 4 of the American League Championship Series. But yeah, so boy, oh boy. You know what, Stan, you're in a good mood, and honestly, I hope it's a good mood because you're working. That's the most important thing. You're back doing something that I know you love doing, so that's tremendous news, and I hope that's why you're happy. But talk to me about yesterday, and not to bring you down off the high that you might be on, but where's your head at with yesterday?
See, I am in a good mood, and although yesterday was a disappointment for me, I've kind of I've given it a lot of thought over the last few weeks about where we are as a club, and the pennies just dropped for me. And the club has chosen a path. They've got a blueprint. We have a team where the majority of our squad are made up of players that are quite young, between the ages of, I would say, 19 to 22, 23. That's the majority of our squad at the moment. That's what they're going for. A lot of these players, they're learning on the job. We have 2 centre-backs in Gabriel and Ben White who are learning from each other. Neither of them has a seasoned centre-back next to them to guide them along. They're learning on the job. And when you couple that with the appointment of a manager who is also learning on the job, then you have to accept that there's going to be more performances like we saw at Brighton and like we saw yesterday. Because as much as we love some of these players in our team, they're just, because of their profile and where they are in their in their factor of the game, there's going to be inconsistencies. There's going to be inconsistencies, and Edu kind of was trying to warn us in his pre-season interview when he was talking. He didn't want to pigeonhole where we were going to finish. He was talking about more looking forward to seeing the team grow. So that tells me that everybody at the club is on the same page. And there's nothing that you or I are going to be able to do about it, because they've all seemed to be in agreement and all seem to be in lockstep that this has all been signed off. All the player profiles has all been signed off. You know, if you look back at yesterday's team, other than Lacazette, Aubameyang, Pepe, and you could say Tierney, everybody else is a Mikel Arteta signing or somebody that he's extended their contract. It's a Mikel Arteta team. And I've just resigned myself that there's going to be more days like there was yesterday. And I don't think that the manager, no matter how much I might dislike it or have other ideas how I would do it if I was being asked, there's no point in me getting all, throwing my toys out of the pram, because I just don't see that Mikel Arteta will be going anywhere soon, because this has all been signed off. So the penny's dropped for me. The other thing is that I would like to touch on is like what I've noticed is it's like how we do it on the podcast, because we look at games, we compartmentalize them. We look at games individually. But if you look at the games that we've played now with this team since the beginning of the season, it was only a couple of weeks ago where Tomiyasu was basically Cafu reincarnated. He was of Cafu, right? Yesterday, I'm seeing people saying maybe he's a bust, maybe he's not good enough. And I just think to myself that he's not going to have a perfect game every single game. And do I think whether he's a shit player or a good player? Personally, I'd have to say that I'm not sure yet, because I haven't seen enough of him. I haven't seen enough of him.
Been what, 6 matches?
The same with Ben White as well. I haven't seen enough of him yet to really be able to say whether we've wasted our money or whether there's something there. And sometimes when I just see it online, it seems that we go from one week to the other of crowning players one week and then kicking them in the balls the following week because they've had a bad game. And because of as I mentioned earlier, because of the player profile that we have gone with, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Players like ESR and Saka cannot be consistent. They're just not at that stage yet. So that's kind of where I am with it. But I do think that we're kind of also, the manager for me he's now heading into that Frank Lampard territory. And what I mean by that is where with Frank Lampard, when he was at Chelsea, he kind of reached a ceiling of where he could take those players with the knowledge that he had as a manager in his tenure. And maybe we're seeing that a little bit with Mikel Arteta, that he's kind of plateauing a bit because he just doesn't have more experience yet. And maybe I think that with a more experienced manager, like what happened with Lampard being removed and someone like Thomas Tuchel coming in, that more juice could be squeezed out of these players. I do believe that, but I've resigned to the fact that I don't think that decision is going to be made anytime soon.
Damn it, Stan! I was going to say that.
Well, why don't you just go ahead, piggyback off of it?
No, I mean, I was going to bring in Lampard into the conversation, and pretty much I agree. I think I kind of the one thing I'll kind of slightly disagree with is how, like, Arteta's learning on the job. I don't know. I think part of me, probably most of me, is to say that I think he's learned enough to where either he's going to be a great manager or a shit manager. I don't think he's a shit manager. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to. I really don't think he's going to be able to elevate us. I don't really think he's learning anymore. I mean, yes, you're gonna that old saying, you learn something new every day. Like, obviously, you're always learning, but I think people are giving him a little too much credit now. I think people are saying, he's still fresh, he's new, but I mean, he's had a lot of time to bed in what he wants to do formationally and tactically, and I just don't think it's working. I don't want to blame the players. I think the biggest problem in the game yesterday was our formation. I know some people might disagree with me. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I don't really, he's had enough games to really screw the pooch and really fuck up tactically and formationally that you would think, like, you'd have to know by now, right? So I don't know. I think that I think the learning's kind of over. Like, yeah, you'll learn a thing or two here and there, but as far as growing with the team, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be growing too much more.
Yeah. So first of all, Rowan, welcome in. Let's
Hi, Rowan.
just start overall with how you're doing, how you're feeling this week.
I mean, slammed with work, and Arsenal don't do any favors. I block my calendar for 2 hours, not take meetings, not do work in the middle of the day, and then we get that sort of performance. So how do you think I'm doing, right? And then today I wanted to watch, because I saw halftime scores of the Champions League, and it seemed exciting. Atletico and Liverpool drawing 2-2, and I wanted to play that. And Paramount Plus was just not working. Like, the games were not coming on there. In between, they prompted a message that they don't have the appropriate license. That's the only reason why I subscribed to that app. I paid for the whole year or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it's shit. Everything's shit. So, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, I mean, the game, what do I say? Two things that I don't want to hear. Like, the first thing that I don't want to hear is an excuse saying that there was a red card and it could have changed that game. I don't want to hear that. Okay.
You'll hear it from me. Don't worry. Ryan.
Because I know, but we did not play well before that, and we should not need favors for beating a much lesser team in Palace. And you were confident that that we are such a better team than them, and they haven't been performing, and they're bottom, in the bottom half, and all of that last week. So now you can't say that, oh, we can't win because they didn't get a red card. First of all, I mean, that's not in our control. So I am not buying that excuse. And the two mistakes that have happened, they happen, right? You play, Partey has the experience, so he shouldn't be doing that. With Lokonga, young players, you play them, that's what happens, right? Mistakes happen. That's fine. But I don't think we lost just because of that, those two goals. And if we would have put in a performance, I was speaking to someone today who had not seen the game, a friend of mine, and I was telling them, we started really well, and then in between we didn't do well, and then in the end we rallied back and we scored. And that in between period, I defined that as 80 minutes, right? And I'm like, then when I heard myself speaking, I was like, this makes no sense, right? And that's the frustration here. 22 months is a long, long time in football. And I don't want to be flip-flopping, and I completely agree with Stan that that he's not going anywhere, but we've got to express our views, and I'm just not happy with it. I said that he needs to get at least 19 out of the next 24 games. Well, he's dropped the next 24 points that he has. He's already dropped 4 of them. He's got to win every game from now until the next international break for him to meet the target that we had set before this. That's where we are
at. Real quick, Riddy Sarkar. But what's funny is that this is all I've seen. And Glenn, I'm coming to you next, but just real quick, like everything I see on Twitter and everybody that, like, the shows that I've watched, after yesterday, and I watched different fan cams. And it's very funny because this is what I keep hearing people say, is that we lost. In the reality, we didn't. We drew, but it feels like a loss. So Glenn, the kind of the final word here on how you're feeling about yesterday's performance is down to you, my friend, because I have a feeling you and I might agree.
Okay, real quick, I saw Mike from the Gooners podcast in the comments before. Congratulations on winning that charity at the thingy. I forget the name of it, right?
Yes, thank you. Let me real quick, Glenn, hold your thought, because I do want to shout out the Gooners pod. And Gooners versus Cancer is just, it's tremendous what Mike is able to do with that charity, and a very, very, very well-deserved football content award. The Gooners Pod won for, or I should say Gooners versus Cancer won for best football charity. So congratulations to Magic Mike. Congratulations to everybody over at the Gooners Pod and Gooners versus Cancer for all of the tremendous work you guys have done. So
yes,
real
Andy
quick shout
Andy
out to
too.
you, Andy, of course. Yep, real quick shout out to you guys. Go ahead.
Real quick, also, Mike, thank you for all those great videos and pictures you were sending over. It felt like I was there. It was fantastic. Okay, I don't disagree with anybody on the panel right now, but I think that Ryan really zeroed in on the problem with this draw. Okay, Arteta. All right, he has Partey playing as the lone DM. What the frig is he thinking? Okay, I'm trying not to curse. My son's in the next room, and if he hears me drop an F-bomb, all I'm gonna hear in the background is fuck. So I think Arteta screwed the pooch. And yes, I agree with Stan. I absolutely do. These kind of games are gonna happen. But if you needed a sole DM, you let Torreira go, you stupid son of a bitch. All right, and then at halftime, Saka's hurt. He brings on Lakanga, switches back to his old shit, and Vieira took him to the woodshed, and that's what I can't stand, and that's why 1 point is not enough for me. I'm so pissed off at this manager right now. That's it.
That's it. Bergen, Arteta out. Well done. That's funny. That's funny. That's a great comment.
I'm just amazed that Glenn doesn't disagree with everybody on the panel, as he opened with.
No, it's funny, Stan, you and I agree. These games are going to happen. They're young kids. It's a manager with training wheels on. But we got beat because of the manager, and that's why you're okay. I'm not going to say you're happy. You're okay because you know what you're expecting. You're okay with the 1 point, but I'm not. No way. No way.
Sorry,
that's been building up for 3 days because Bearded Gooner over there on the top left is like my daughter. He doesn't return messages. So I'm going to start calling you Chelsea from now on.
You want to go down that road?
You named your daughter
What,
after
Rose?
a Premier League team? How dare you?
Oh, my God. Anyway, the disturbing...
But seriously,
could have
he
been worse.
got out-managed.
Could have been worse.
Why the hell is Partey playing DM?
The concerning thing for me about this is, I mean, let's face it, it's Groundhog Day, right? That it very rarely over the course of the last year plus, I guess, have we looked different than we did yesterday. Yesterday was back to slow, methodical, backs to goal, sideways passing, backwards passing. And it's like I said, it's Groundhog Day all over again. And all of the positivity that we took from the way that we played, and Stan, you brought up a good point. We take each game, right? And we compartmentalize each individual game. Let's take a moment. Let's look at the big picture here, right? Big picture. We started with a 1-0 win at home against Norwich. Boring. Just boring football. We went to Burnley, got a point there. Burnley are the kind of team that we survived.
We got three.
I'm sorry. One goal. Beat them. Yeah. What I say? We got 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Got 3 points. 1 goal is what I meant to say. I'm sorry. That's kind of a place where you go. You get 3 points like that, you survive, right? Especially the way that we've been the past few years with Burnley. We survived Burnley. So
I think we did more than survive. I was a little more.
We didn't get beat up at Burnley, but then
we beat them up, which is I think it's very positive.
Right. And then we come back home in a North London derby, and of course it's the game that, look, if we're only going to win 2 matches all year long, those are the 2 matches we better win, right? And the first 45 minutes of the North London derby was fantastic. We were world beaters. And now we're talking about 180, 45, 225 minutes of football now where we've looked pretty fucking bad, right? I mean, didn't look good at Brighton. Did not look good yesterday outside of the first, yeah, sure, maybe 10, 15. I'll go so far as to say even the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Everything after that, after the goal, until we had to turn it on at 90 minutes. I mean, we didn't even really turn it on at 90. I mean, it was like the 91st minute when we finally like, oh shit, we might lose this.
To be fair, I will say I think Lacazette turned it on. I don't think the rest of the team followed.
I agree because he even
Lacazette and Aubameyang were the only two players I felt who were playing there. The rest were not playing, but they were not allowed to play. Also, there was a massive midfield overload. He was taken to school. Arteta was taken to school, and it's just like they say, right? Your team is a mirror image of the manager that's managing you, and that's what our team is. It's slow, it's average, it's not creative, it's just mediocre. And that's how Mikel Arteta was.
And that's what I mean. It's Groundhog Day all over again, because how many times have we said this about the performance?
Yeah.
It's the same thing over and over and over again. So and I'll open it up to everybody, to the three of you. I assume Glenn's going to come back, some technical difficulties, but this is Arteta. This is what he wants to do. It makes no sense for this to be the players saying, this is how we're going to play. We're going to do this because we're scared. They're playing this way because they're scared that Mikel Arteta is going to light them up or not play them if they don't play this way. You know what I like? So is it Arteta? Is it the players? Stan, go ahead. Arteta, the players. What do you think?
I would agree with you that, watching the game, I mean, we scored in 8 minutes. And if you look what we were doing up until that point, and the way I quite like the goal, the 1-2 with Pepe and Tomiyasu was quite nice. And the shot that Pepe took, that was going in, and the keeper had to really stretch himself to get that out. And who was there for the follow-up? Aubameyang, doing what you expect him to do. And his whole demeanour when he scored, and the team's demeanour, I thought to myself, we're off to the races today. I did.
Yeah.
We're off to the races today, because the whole demeanour of everybody in the celebration of that goal. And I thought, yeah, Aubameyang he looks well up for it. And he had the tenacity to be there for the follow-up. He wasn't being lazy. He was on it, making sure that if that ball didn't go in, he'd be there to make sure. So I thought, this is good. And like you say, the first 20 minutes, we were quite direct and moving the ball forward. But what I noticed during that 20 minutes, even when we were trying to be very positive, is that we were having a lot of trouble still in that final third, where when they go to do that pass into the final third, there'd always be another toe in there getting the ball away from the opposition. We couldn't quite make that pass. And then as the game progressed, I was sort of like jotting down some notes, and I'm like, it's almost like since Aubameyang scored, we've not been able to get the ball to him again. That was it for Aubameyang.
Yeah.
And I know that I've been quite critical of him in the past and saying that, he has been getting in good positions at times and just missing some really gilt-edged chances. Not yesterday, because the ball didn't get to him. He didn't have the opportunity to miss anything yesterday because the ball just was not getting to him. Martin Odegaard as well. I mean, he's playing a lot deeper. I thought he looked okay playing in that position at Burnley. It's not his favoured position. But as I mentioned earlier, with the profile of these ages of these players in this team, there's going to be inconsistencies. There's going to be inconsistent games. And even if you look to the bench and think, well, who else can we bring on? Other than El Neni, again, you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles. It's a similar age profile. So even when you look to draw from the well, you're bringing on another kid for a youngster sort of thing, right? And as much as I don't enjoy it, there's nothing, I kind of repeated myself from a bit earlier. I've kind of resigned myself that, well, this is the path now that we're going down, and you just got to brace yourself and hope at some point it's going to bear fruit quicker rather than later, because the only way that I think that ownership does something drastic is if we find ourselves in a relegation dogfight, heaven forbid.
Can I understand something real quick? Because my thingy stopped working and I missed a part of the show. Stan, I'm not trying to make you be negative or anything, but doesn't this feel like the same damn bad movie we have been watching forever, where we just drop points and drop points and drop points? You know, and next thing we know, we're in 8th place. To me, watching the same movie over and over again, it's like Groundhog Day, dude. It's like Groundhog Day.
No, you're right. You're right. There is an element of taking a baby step forward and then taking 2 giant steps back again. There is a lot of that going on, and it's how do you want to look at Mikel Arteta's period? Are you going to look at it from the day he started until today, or are you looking at it from the end of that last transfer window where you say, well, he's got his whole team now? You know, only 4 of those players in the team yesterday weren't his, that he didn't sign or extend a contract he wasn't involved in. So me personally, I look at the whole picture. I'm looking at it from the day that he walked in the door, and it's 2 years, coming up for 2 years now, right? And almost in his 3rd season. So, and you look at someone like Patrick Vieira, who's been in the job such a small length of time, and you see what's happening there at Crystal Palace. You see, you know, he's not had 150 million to spend on a lot of new players. He's brought in a couple in that, and you know, he's not on the levels of Pep or Klopp when it comes to managers. However, he has managed in a few different countries. Patrick Vieira, he's been gathering experience. He's been in and out now of a few different dressing rooms. Mikel Arteta hasn't had that. He's still, you know, this is still the first ride, and I just feel that, you know, we're stuck. It's not going to change anytime soon. I just don't see how, you know, the club seems to be happy with this method. I don't know where. That's it.
Yeah.
So I
get
should
it.
have. Go, Glenn. Go.
Can I just say this? Be real quick, BG. I am not begrudging anybody that was happy with Laka's goal to tie the game. The thing that made me have to get off of Twitter for a little while was I saw people saying, if you weren't celebrating that Laka goal, you're not a real Arsenal fan. And others saying, if you accept the draw, you're not a real Arsenal fan. I don't say any of that. If you're happy with the Laka goal, great. But I respect my opinion that Arteta is costing us valuable points.
I think you hit it right on the head, Glenn. Because I'll be honest, when he scored, I was banging my table. I was pumped. I was excited. I was happy for Lacazette. But yeah, it's 2 lost points, you know. But I probably should do this earlier. Beer of the week is Hoodwink. Fox Brett IPA. New Club Brewing, because I feel to an extent. I know some of you guys have been kind of on the Arteta out train for so long. I've been there-ish. I don't want to classify myself as Arteta out. I think we could do better with him. But I feel deceived that, and for people that don't know, and that's fair. I've learned what the definition of hoodwinked was probably like a month ago. All right, 3 weeks ago. It's to deceive. And I somewhat feel deceived, you know. We get our signings in, we put in a performance in, and I know I'm in the minority in this. We put a performance in at Burnley, we put a performance in North London Derby, and things are going well. We have our signings in. Tomiyasu's clicking, Ben White's starting to get there. You know, everything. Lukonga's ahead of schedule. You know, everything's starting to do really well for us. And then we kind of just, I feel, and kind of what I said earlier, and Stan also said it too. I almost feel like we kind of hit a brick wall where you're just like, oh man, I think this is as far as Arteta is going to take us. And it sucks because, you know, when the summer window closed, I was excited. I was happy with the transfers. I was very optimistic in that we could make runs for the top 6. Not necessarily we'll finish there, but we're going to see better football. We're going to do better things. We're going to play better. Whether it's attractive or not is not the issue, because I just don't think that's Arteta's thing. But yeah, so I feel a little deceived. And, you know, the big big stinker on this whole thing is I don't see the board or the Cronkies doing anything about this. I think they're going to ride Arteta if he gets point. I think, in my opinion, because I don't really see the Cronkies that invested. I know I've always said this. This is Josh's team, not Stan's team, and I do believe that. But I think Josh is sitting there after this game. He thinks it's a point earned, and I think that's the problem. And I think our board sees that as, oh, we got to draw at the death. Like, that's fucking great. from a sub. Like, this is good, and it's definitely frustrating because that's not what it's not what the masses think. That's not what you should think, because we're a team that's getting better. We're building the tactics, the formation. I keep going back to the tactics were not good, but I think the formation was a lot worse, especially in the second half. And I'm going to answer your question, BG, and say that yes. The two goals that Crystal Palace scored were individual mistakes. So can you blame the players? Yes, 100% you can. But I think in long stretches of the game, in the majority of the game, it was our formation. If you notice in the second half, we did not play with a 10. Odegaard was all the way on the left. ESR was all the way on the right. And it left our two center mids, Lakanga and Partey, just out in the open, exposed. Just acres of space in front of them. And we were just... I guess we were trying to play the wings. We were trying to play the sides. Fair. Pepe, in my opinion, that's another thing too. I don't think Pepe was as bad as people made him out to be. I think stats say otherwise, and I think that he had a disastrous second half. So yes, but I thought his first half, I thought he was great. Or I would say maybe even like the first 40 minutes, 35 minutes. I thought he was great. But I don't know. I maybe that was Arteta's way of trying to get him back in the game, because he was getting lost, and we didn't really play through Tierney that much in the first half. Maybe Arteta wanted to try to do that, but it didn't make sense, and I think it was a direct cause to both of our goals, which is upsetting because of the 11 that was put out. Again, I guess hoodwinked. I saw the starting 11. I was pumped. I was like, oh, we're going to see some goals. I think Pepe. I thought Pepe was going to have a really nice goal today. Or yesterday. I thought, this is our chance to really flood the gates. The gates are going to be open. Palace's defense is not great. We could be scoring multiple goals this game. Like, this is, we did, but at the cost of us conceding multiple goals. But yeah, it's just, it sucks because when you look at it from watching the game, you're like, okay, yeah, two players make mistakes. It's the players. But no, they were hung out to, literally, Lakanga and Partey were hung out to dry on both of our goals. And it just sucks because, like we've all been saying, we've been at this for 2 years, and I don't see Arteta really learning that much more to greatly impact Arsenal Football Club.
You brought up the lineup from yesterday and how exciting it was and hopefully somewhat dynamic. Really 5 guys in attack, right? Odegaard, ESR, Pepe, Saka, Aubameyang.
Well, the one thing I will say, sorry to pick you out, Glenn, but Odegaard was Partey's partner. Everyone said, oh, he was the lone DM. No, he wasn't. Odegaard was playing back with Partey. Yes, he pushed up when we had the ball. He kind of drifted to the left a little bit. But in looking at the formation and watching the tactics while the game was going on, Odegaard was Partey's partner. I think Odegaard was just didn't have a good game and really exposed Partey.
Oh, because he's playing a role that he shouldn't be playing.
No, I agree. I'm just saying.
It looked to me like Odegaard and ESR were playing behind the front three. Am I wrong? Because I thought Partey was the lone DM, and that really drove me crazy all game.
I think Odegaard drifted up a lot. I guess from what I watched, I saw Odegaard with Partey a little bit. I think Odegaard was a little more deeper than he normally is. So you're led to believe, yes, he was supposed to be Partey's partner. But again, going back to what I just said, I think Crystal Palace is a defense that we could easily get at. So I think Arteta's like, hey, listen, Odegaard, you're going to play alongside Partey. You're the partner, but, kind of free. I don't want to say free ball because Arteta's a very structured type of coach, but I'm sure he's like, you know what, I'm going to have you push up a little more in attack because, you know, that's something that we're going to be doing a lot. And the first little bit we did. I thought we played well. I think Pepe was kind of firing all cylinders. He was tracking back, playing defense. Aubameyang was tracking back, playing defense. I really like what I was seeing. I think it's just, I think formationally, you know, it got the best of us. Palace came and they go, okay, we're down 1 goal. They didn't give up. They're like, all right. I think, well, what was the stat I read? I mean, little stat, but I think we won 35.6 of the aerial duels, the lowest ever since those were started to be recorded, which I think was like 2017. So, I mean, we're not really a team that likes to win in the air. I get that, but and I think Stan mentioned it, just getting their toes onto the ball. They just wanted the game more than us, you know, simple as.
I just want to add one thing to what Ryan just said about Arteta, because I was trying to find out why the hell we just went into the fetal position after scoring the first goal. And Arteta said, I didn't like how we were so defensive after we scored the first goal. You didn't like it? Why don't you say something? Why don't you do something about it? Are you that ineffective on the sideline that you can't just... I'm going off again. Go ahead.
Didn't he say something about... I'm paraphrasing, that we weren't sort of attacking as much as he would have liked, and the team hadn't followed his instruction, something like that.
I didn't see
You're not following his instructions, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Well, I didn't, in the article that I read, it didn't say
they should be following his instructions, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you know, I'm not pissed off about the 2 mistakes that we made. Mistakes are going to be made because these are young players. This is what we've signed up to. We've somehow hedged our bets on the fact that they are going to become better players, which we do not know, but that's the direction where we're going. I have no problem with that. It's that we got outplayed for 80 minutes. When we started so well, I knew that if we didn't score an early goal, we would get frustrated and they could form a block and, you know, hit us on the counter. But we set up that platform for ourselves. You know, we gave ourselves the lead. They were going to come out. We should have played on the counter, but we didn't do any of that. We made it easy for them. On the balance of play, whoever says that, oh, the 2 mistakes, they scored 2 goals by the 2 mistakes, and that's why you can't blame Arteta because he's not the one who's created that. Antony also hit the bar, so if you count that, we should have won 3-2. But it's over the balance of play. We didn't play as well. We didn't deserve to win. Palace were better than us. You know, it's 8 games in. We played 8 Premier League games. We've had 1/2 of a convincing performance. We're 12th on the table. We're -5 in goal difference. I mean, what the hell is going on? And how can anyone say that Arteta is not to blame? This is his team now. This is his team now. There's no getting away from that. So it's indefensible. And I know that it's not going to change. And we're going to say the same team on Friday and the same manager on Friday. And I'm going to support them. Again, block my calendar, not work at that point. You know, have a shit ton of work after that. But I'm going to do that. But it's going to leave me pissed off because this manager is clueless.
Let me ask you, Rohan, and I hear what you're saying, but one of the biggest images from that game for me was right towards the end of the game when Martinelli was on the pitch. And I think it might have been somewhere between the 80th to 85th minute, somewhere around there. And he was out on the left-hand side with the ball and then 2 or 3 of the opposition around him.
Dude,
Trying to like get out, and he had the ball. He was trying to keep possession, and I was thinking to myself, any minute now, I'm going to see somebody in a red shirt, 1 or 2, running into the screen to give him an outlet.
That happened more than once, Stan, by the way.
And I was thinking, like, it's time slowed down because it's not happening. There was no one, and who do you blame for that? That kind of a mentality where he's out there and he's got the ball and there's no one. Everyone's looking at each other. Are you going to go out there? Are you going to go out there? Meanwhile, the game is still going on. Who, for that kind of a situation, who's at fault for that? You know.
And also, too, during the game, the beginning, I thought it was very noticeable because it happened a lot in the beginning. Tomiyasu had the ball to throw in like 4 or 5 times. He's looking. No one's moving. ESR was moving. He's just like, you.
Ryan,
A
Ryan,
couple times, the ref's like, come on.
Can I just say real quick that that wasn't just yesterday. That's been that literally has been.
I'm just saying because it was very obvious yesterday. I agree. It's multiple, but this is over
like
multiple
4
throw-ins in a row. No, I know, but I'm just saying we had I think we had 3 or 4 throw-ins in succession, and you just sort of to going, oh, same old shit again. Okay, all right, cool, yeah. All right. I give ESR credit. ESR was moving around a little bit, but I mean, come on.
And everybody, every week we come here and we talk about Aubameyang and his work rate, that he's not got enough work rate, and that's why he's not getting the service. He should be running more. He should be doing more. I think he did everything. And like Stan said, after the first 10 minutes, the ball didn't reach him. He had to come really deep, which is very much not Aubameyang, to try and get the ball. But nothing was working. And you could see when Lacazette came on, when players were willing to run in behind and exploit the space in behind and play those quick passing, thrice. How many times did Lacazette get in with that quick interplay? That's what you had to do. But again and again, we tried the horizontal ball, and they knew that they could just crowd out the box, and we couldn't do anything. The ball just kept coming out because there's no creative outlet. There's no understanding of where we want to attack. He says that the handbrakes are on, that he wants to attack, but everybody's behind the ball, and nobody's making the run. Nobody's trying to, the only time that they try to play it into the box is someone facing behind, like with their back towards the goal, and you're not going to score anything, and somebody steps in and takes the ball away from you. That just kept happening again and again, and then our midfield gets exposed. I mean, that was the time. With experience, actually, Sambi would have known that he should have just pulled his leg. That's what he should have done. Like, he should have just fouled him. There should be he should have done a tactical foul. And
he did. He did, and he missed. If you saw,
he tried to win, but he missed,
and he completely missed. Yeah,
right. But that is something that he will learn. So you signed up to this. It's fine. You lose the game, you draw the game. It's fine. It's the manner in which that you have played. Football is 90 minutes, man.
I think
it's dreadful.
I think what sucks, and I'm sorry we keep harping on this, but what sucks is, yes, the players made the individual mistakes to concede those goals. Yes, the players are technically the reason why we drew, but I think the manager put them in that position. The manager didn't put Partey in that position to make. I don't know why you turn into. I don't really like turning into the middle of the field like the way he did. I thought that was a recipe for disaster, but whatever. But just having them so exposed and isolated like that in the middle of the field, especially Lokonga too, like someone who's learning, like he's very new to the Premier League. Like you're asking for trouble, and that's what we got. We got trouble, and it's frustrating because someone like a Lokonga, who I think is a good player, he can be a great player, and he was a leader at the. See you later, Sophie. Thanks for stopping by. Please, everybody, check out Hybrid Squad. Fantastic podcast. I hope to be talking to you soon, Sophie. Always a pleasure. But yes,
so the male Sophie, right?
What? I don't know what you said. So yeah, look, Lokonga is putting him in this position. Like, yeah, he's gonna learn, but this is not the way to learn. Because I don't think this is very drastic, and I'm gonna get a little hate for this. But you do this enough times to him, he's gonna turn to fucking Granit Xhaka. We all know, like. Come on. We need to give him a basis, a line to just learn and just.
That's what Arteta wants, though. That's what Arteta wants. If Arteta wants a more athletic Granit Xhaka, that's what he wants. The thing that Granit Xhaka has, and I don't think any of us, or that he supposedly has in the minds of the managers. It's intelligence. He's cerebral. Now, we'll all sit here and say, are you off your fucking rocker? You think Granit Xhaka is the smartest footballer at Arsenal Football Club. But the managers seem to think so. So clearly, the five of us clowns are missing something. A lot of people, it's not just us. A lot of people are missing something. But that's what he wants because, look, the whole problem with this team is they're too rigid. And what does that translate to? They're thinking too much, right? How do we get going, and then all of a sudden we have to stop because it's like, wait, I don't know what to do next. We're going way too fast here. I got to slow down. I got to kick the ball backwards. Wait, timeout. Hey, coach, where am I supposed to be right now? Meanwhile, the ball's back there going the other direction.
I completely agree, and it's funny. When I'm at work, I'm managing and stuff. I tell people what to do, and if I need like a lot of things to do, I may be like, hey, John, I need you to do 1 A, B, C, D, E, F. If I give them all 5 tasks I need to get done, they're gonna go slower because they're gonna be like, wait, I gotta do this and
hang on,
this.
Ryan, hold your thought real quick because I want to correct something. I'm not saying that I think that Granit Xhaka is the most intelligent footballer. I'm saying the coaches have thought that. Arteta thinks that. So Tubbs, Tony, everybody, like Tanner hit the crack pipe while I was listening and not watching. Like, no, it's not me. I don't think that. I disagree with it. But what I'm saying is that I think what Arteta values most, and I've been saying this for a year, if not more, what Arteta values most, it's not athleticism. It's not talent.
Yeah. Xhaka's got both of those.
It's football IQ. And for some reason, he thinks Granit Xhaka has it in spades. Don't know why. I don't agree, but I just wanted to clarify.
Because he's the first one to training, the last one to leave.
That doesn't fucking matter.
I'm just kidding. Anyways, let me finish my point really quick. So you give someone A, B, C, 5 different things to do. They're going to be slower because you're like, I did A. What's B? It's this. Okay. Cool, then C. But if you, to me, what comes natural. That's I think we have players that can do that. I don't understand why it's just like it's just so many steps and these players, they're young, and the profile that we're doing, I think this is the worst thing for the profile. Now, if we're playing with vets, we're playing with Kevin De Bruyne, we're playing with Azpilicueta, who's been players that have been in the Premier League and are they're an age, fine, maybe, but we don't have that. We have we're attracting this younger profile. We're playing with these younger leaders, and you're going to give them a million instructions to do. It doesn't make any sense. Right. I do have a question for everybody here. I'm very curious because I've seen it all over Twitter today. I didn't see it yesterday, but I saw it all today, and I'd like to know everyone's thoughts. Does anybody think, or I guess you guys individually, do you guys think we missed Granit Xhaka yesterday? Do you think Granit Xhaka would have done better? Do you think Granit Xhaka is the best center midfielder for this club? I should say, no, I'm not going to say that. Just answer, did we really miss Granit Xhaka yesterday?
Okay, let me answer real quick. No, I'm all Xhaka'd out, man. I am so Xhaka'd out of talking about Xhaka. On our perfect Arsenal squad, fucking Xhaka is a squad player. Fuck him. Fuck Xhaka. He's not here right now, and I don't want to talk about him for an hour. I swear to God, I'll go in the other room and do something else if we're going to talk about Xhaka for an hour. I'm done.
It's just a question because it's weird how it came up in spades. I saw it every other tweet today.
Ryan. He is the player equivalent of Arteta. He's a fucking bullshitter. He just gets everybody to like him. Inside that dressing room and the manager. He is the Arteta equivalent as a player. I mean, the players vote on captain, right? The only reason he's not captain is because we all fucking know what he did, throwing the fucking armband down. They just dismissed that, all right? The players vote on captain. They always vote for fucking Xhaka. Every fucking manager who comes here is tickling Xhaka's balls. I'm sick of it.
Does anyone else want to answer? Or put it this way, does anyone think he would have made a difference? Anyone think that we really missed him yesterday?
We're still on an unbeaten run, and he's not in the team.
I'm sorry, Stern. I'm sorry.
He's not in the team, is he? We're on an unbeaten run.
Without him. Oh, okay.
We might be playing a little bit doolally at times and that, but I mean, what happens if what happens if we go into this game on Friday and we win 3-2? Then what? Do you know what I mean? Because we're that inconsistent. It could equally happen, or you could see a much of a mushiness of what you saw yesterday, where you see a period of play everywhere. We come out the blocks and look good, and maybe even nick a goal. But then what? It's so unpredictable. And coming on to these podcasts and chatting with you, it's so hard to predict things. You know, you ask for score predictions and lineups, and you have no idea of what's going to happen. It really is like sometimes you feel like there's a hat with names in, and you're putting your hand in and picking them out. Okay, it feels like that a little bit at times. It wouldn't surprise me if the next game we could have a completely different formation. You might even go 3 at the back. It's not out of the realms of what is possible, because it still feels
the man himself is here. We should ask him.
Well, I want to hear what Rohan says about missing shot. It's a great question, Ryan.
At 2 years in, we're still none the wiser of expectations when it comes to a formation and the style of play with this guy. We're not, we can't go, it's going to be. We just don't know, and I find that worrying that this far in that we are in that situation where it's like, well, let's wait and see what the fucking lineup is like now before the game. We had no idea.
God should give everyone an employer like Arsenal, where you can perform week after week, but still get paid and be so secure in your job and not give two Fs about anyone. It's just, it's laughable. Can
I just ask?
It's a Champions League day, like night today, right? Like was a Champions League night. Leave Champions League, leave Europe. We just couldn't stop like posting videos of Jack Wilshere goal from 8 years ago, because that's when we had a little bit of creativity.
Hey, Rohan, you never know. Jack Wilshere might show up on the team.
Oh, don't start this, Ryan. That's why I was so. That's why I was so mean to you last week, because you told me I was in fantasy land. Don't make me angry about
Glenn, that. I didn't say you were in fantasy land. I said all of you guys were in fantasy land. It's different. I grouped you in with everybody, Glenn. I didn't single you out.
Can I just ask, is anybody of the opinion where we play again on Friday? Should we stick with what we've been doing? Or are you talking about ripping it up? I see some people talking about, well, we should throw an Nenny in there this time. And I'm like, well, I get that you might think about wanting to make changes, but are we then going back to what we've already had? We're supposed to be moving in with this plan, right? Are we supposed to take the pain?
Either he has to succeed with these players, or he has to fall on his own sword. He can't go safe now and go El Nani and go all of these players after he spent $150 million on this in this transfer window. Then can anyone say that we are the highest spenders of the transfer window? Oh, no. It's supposed to come later. Vieira hasn't taken so much time. Their team has been playing well. They were unlucky to come to the Emirates and to go away with just a draw. That's the state that we're in.
And let's add the fact on Zaha did not play. Probably one of.
That's right.
I won't say he's the best player now because he's a little older and they have a lot of young talent coming through. But he's a good player. He definitely could have helped them even more than what they did. They did yesterday. And he didn't even play, so you're just like what are we doing here? Like what's going on?
They so did not deserve that fantastic, brilliant crowd. They were so loud from beginning to end.
Dude, it was. I don't know if I've ever heard them that loud, which is crazy.
Yeah, it was so crazy. I feel bad. Usually I envy everybody that's there. I felt so bad for them because this team they do not deserve the crowd that.
Hold on.
There.
So I've never heard them that loud. Could we think maybe Mike from the Gooners Pod is just that loud of a voice? It was very loud. Mike's got some pipes on him. I'll give him some
I must say though that like I've watched a bit of Edouard now. Not just in yesterday's game, but since he's made the debut, and he could have been a great addition. Stan, shout out to you. Like you've been beating his drum for like a season and a
years.
half now, and
Yeah,
he looks
easily.
like a player.
Who's that? Sorry, I missed that.
Edward.
Edward.
Do you
Yeah.
think as well? I mean,
Got
Ben
the wrong
White,
stand running Arsenal.
just that Edward goal. Ben White's backing off. I mean, in a situation like that, I mean, someone needs to be telling. Try
That's-
something else. Try and put
That's
guy
the
on his
difference.
foot. I mean, is this part of the learning curve? You know what I mean? If he's going to do it like that, and then okay, he learns from that, and that's part of it. I accept that, but we can't be seeing that repeated, and that
Yeah.
becomes part of his game. If you know what I mean, that needs to be ironed out.
I mean, he's 23 years old. I will not slate him for getting beat 1-on-1, but that's the difference between a Ben White and a Van Dijk, right? Like Van Dijk would have defended that 1-on-1. He wouldn't have been able to get a shot away. I think, in my opinion, and that's where we're at. And we've signed more on defense. We were the third best defense last year. We were -5. We got humiliated once with 5 goals. We've conceded, I don't know, how many, and we just don't score many. So it's dreadful.
I wish that I could get to that place that Stan is at right now. Stan, do you do yoga? Like, do you meditate? Is that how you deal with this? Because you're so damn calm, I can't stand it. Once again, I just want to say, I wish that I could accept that draw, but Arteta got outmanaged from beginning to end. They isolated Partey, and then when he tried to fix it at halftime because Saka got hurt.
That's so funny. I don't think they isolated Partey. I think Arteta isolated Partey. Arteta isolated Lokonga Partey. In the second half, we did not play with a 10. Odegaard was I think it was, Odegaard was to the left, ASR was to the right. Or I might have had flipped, but one of them was on one side, one was on the other.
Yeah,
there was just acres of space in the middle of the field. I don't get it. I get it. We like to play the sides, cross the ball in because Aubameyang's got a nasty header. But it's like it didn't make sense. Like on attack, like I get it. Like if that's what you want to do, you want to play the wings and go into the box from the side. Like fine, we got it. We got a lot. We had a good amount of chances, like Tierney's chance that he hit the crossbar. We had a lot of chances from the side of the 18. When we got in, we made some moves. We made a couple crosses. Fair, fine, whatever. But defensively, we were just naked. We were just naked in defense, and all it takes is one bad turn, and that's what happened with Partey, Lokonga. I see people on Twitter after the game and even today arguing that Gallagher fouled him, which fair, but it doesn't matter. He got exposed. He got the ball. They scored. I don't think it wasn't a foul like MacArthur on Saka. So I'm not gonna sit here and blame Dean, which I will. Which Dean fucking was terrible. Which is funny because before the game, I saw stats about how I think we've won. We haven't lost in 11 games. Dean has been our official. Granted, yes, we didn't lose, so the streak's still going, but. Dean's been very good to us, and I admit he has, because I know people complain about Mike Dean how bad he is, and he's been pretty good to us lately. But whatever. It just sucks when you see things and you're like, well, that's not good, and you get undressed. We got undressed in the beginning of the second half. They saw the space. They isolate. No, again, I'm saying they isolated us. No, Arteta gave them the ammunition to the, they loaded the gun and then that was it. And I don't know what you do. I want to say if we had a 10, we would have played better. I do think that, but
Arteta had no plan B, Ryan. Arteta had no plan B.
That's the problem, Glenn. That was the plan B. We've been playing with a 10. So what happened was Saka came off, Lukaku came on. I think that's when they're like, okay, Odegaard, you go one way, ESR go the other way. That was his plan B. Was we're gonna
4-4, right?
Yes, we're gonna. Well. I think Arteta's plan was we're gonna spread the field, we're gonna stretch them out real wide, and then we're just gonna go in through the channels. Yeah, get your head out of the gutter. Whoever was laughing, spread them out real wide. Problem is, we didn't flood. Usually, when you spread teams out wide, that's you go through the channels. You go through the middle of the field. You run behind, and I'm not blaming Aubameyang at all. It's not Aubameyang's fault, but we didn't do that. And again, I'm not saying I'm not. But this isn't me blaming Aubameyang, but we just poor execution. We just didn't get it done. And I don't know where you go from this because I think Lacazette and Aubameyang played fairly well together. I think Aubameyang, this is my one criticism of Aubameyang. I think he tried to get Lacazette into the game too much. He tried passing with him a lot. And I'm like, there's a couple passes that he gave that were like really bad passes from Aubameyang. But it's like, dude, Aubameyang, play your game. You're playing well. Lacazette's playing well. Like things are going well. Just don't force it. It'll come. And it ended up coming, but they had scored 2 goals already. So.
I mean, we did everything against what we've seen throughout Arteta's reign, right? Like we just tried to attack from the right the whole first half.
They blocked off the left, didn't they? Because they totally blocked it off a little bit.
Yeah, and like for some reason we didn't shift it to the left, which has been our only avenue for the last 22 months. We just kept it on the right, and Tomiyasu. He needs some composure on the ball. I'm not going to judge him as a player, but there were so many times that his passes were going nowhere. These were just
he had one nice interception, and he went to pass it to the field, and it was like nobody's even near the ball.
They blocked off the left side. They were onto that. They
and
didn't
then
kind of blocked it off, and then
every time he got the ball in the second half, he was just passing it backwards. He was not taking them on. He wasn't going inside. He wasn't. And anyways, when he goes inside, I'm not a great fan of his crossing because he just smashes it. He doesn't even look for someone. He doesn't put his head up. I don't know what he does. So, I mean, we have to say that as much as we want Tierney to be our captain and all of that, he's not had a great season. I mean, he's not doing terribly great.
I think I don't know why.
Lines. I mean, I saw someone tweet it, right? Like that he's like a PlayStation, like a FIFA player, right? Like he runs only in straight lines, and that's only going to get you that far, right? Like, I mean, this whole thing needs a little more imagination. We used to get beat on the counter because we used to gamble and we used to try to get men forward, get men in the box, get men on the overload. Play those intricate passes, etc., etc. Now we're stuck somewhere in between. He's too afraid now because it's too boring, so he doesn't want to like completely sit, but he doesn't want to completely commit as well. And that leaves us that no man's land area leaves us exposed.
I'll go one step further, Rohan. Talking about Tierney's a FIFA player. He's a 12-year-old player-controlled FIFA player where like when you're playing with like your little brother and like all he wants to do is score. So like the center back could have the ball and he just tries to dribble through everybody and tries to score in the box. Tierney, I think Arteta focuses Tierney on getting into the 18 and crossing the ball and making moves so much that like we forget he's a fucking phenomenal defender. He's a no-nonsense. He'll fucking put you on your ass. He's a tough physical defender. He hasn't shown any of that this season, and I do not blame Tierney. I don't think Tierney's having a bad season. I guess in a way he's not having a great season, but I think it's again. I hate doing this, but I think it's because of Arteta. Arteta is just coaching him up to be this guy who's going to push forward. And don't worry, Tierney. You have Ben White, you have Tomiyasu, you have Gabriel behind you, and you have maybe Partey Lakanga. You're good. Push up, play attack. Be that guy that's going to maybe be the pre-assist guy or just the assist guy. Get in that box, make a move. He's a defender. He's a great defender. And I'm not saying he's terrible at attack, but he's a fullback. He's a defender. Play that.
But it seems that he's a winger first and a left back second, rather than it being the other way around.
And I don't blame. I really don't blame Tierney. I think it's just the what we do tactically. I think it's Arteta's instructions, and I don't like it because I think Tierney could be the future captain of this club. I think Tierney just exudes everything that we want this club to be in terms of toughness and the culture and just the like blue collar, like you know what, I'm gonna get dirt all over me, I'm gonna wear a t-shirt and shorts and below freezing weather. Like we want that. We want to be this tough team because we're soft. We're still soft. I thought maybe we turned a page with Burnley. Not really. We didn't really do that. To be fair, we did have Mike Dean fucking preventing that, but you know, it's concerning to me because Tierney is someone that I think that is going to be the future captain. He should be the future captain in his club, and he's not having a good year. And I don't want to join the blame Arteta train, and you know, but this is what's happening.
If you guys are going to turn on Tierney, you're all going to make my enemies list. All right?
I'm not turning on Tierney. I'm blaming Arteta for the reason why Tierney's not playing the way he should be playing, because he's a tough SOB who is one of our better defenders. But we're turning him into a guy who's going to cross the ball into Aubameyang, into Saka, into ESR. It's just, it could be an option, but it
should be the focal point.
Exactly. Perfect. It should not be the focal point. Precisely.
I swear, the next time I'm feeling positive about this club, I'm going to make my wife take my laptop and phone, because if I do one more Friday tweet, "Oh, I'm so positive about Arsenal this weekend," I'm going to fucking shoot myself.
Hey, I'm positive about Arsenal against Villa. So
it's handy to have a left back that can help out in the attack and join the attack and help out there, but be a left back first.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Make sure you've got that bit nailed down first. The other bits going forward, it's a bonus, but I think we've shown our hands so much on that left side now. I imagine when other teams are looking at their calendar and they're looking at Arsenal coming up and they have the team talk, they're talking about that left-hand side and how to nullify it. That's one of the main focus points that they must talk about, of how to stop Arsenal, with nullifying the left-hand side. And it's very one-dimensional if teams have got us down like that already.
I also think Tierney's just crowding the space up on our attack. We have so many different players that could take the space that he takes, but he's there, and it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll go somewhere else. And then it's just, there is a thing, is too many cooks. You know, was it too many cooks in the kitchen? I think that someone plays a role here in the fact that I just don't think we need Tierney up there all the time, but he persists to be up there, and it crowds space. We have to move where you have players in positions that just shouldn't be where they're in spots they shouldn't be. And I could not agree with you more, Stan. I think he needs to be a left back first. I think our tactics can just change just a little bit. I'm not saying he can't push up. He could do it, but he's just losing to an extent, he's losing his identity. Because again, I want him to be the face of this club. He still has opportunity, but I just think Arteta is just saying, no, you're a left winger. You're going to do this. I don't give a fuck where anyone is. You're going to make crosses. You're going to get assists. You're going to be great. That's not the way.
There was a point There was a point this season. I'll be quick, Stan. I'm sorry. There was a point this season where an over majority of our crosses were coming from Tierney's side. If Arteta's trying to, throw something into the works there where we're not so reliant on that, that's fine. I'm not going to bitch about that. What really worries me is he got the lineup right for the first 8 minutes. He got the lineup correct. We went into a defensive shell. Arteta said in his press conference, I didn't like that. And the team didn't listen to him. I don't friggin' know. Okay. And the only other time Arteta did something positive was in the 65th minute when Laka came on, and that lasted about 5 minutes. And then went back to, Vieira just outmanaged him every step of the way.
And Sophie was right. I mean, who's Vieira also? Like, he's not some legendary manager. He's failed a couple of times. He didn't get he was assistant at Man City. He managed the New York City Football Club. They didn't hire him just because he's played for us and he's been here, etc., etc. I mean, just cut your ties, man. Do you think Arteta is who is Arteta? Who is Mikel Arteta? It's just going for the cheap option, not wanting to pay up, etc., etc. Now it's we are in this banter ride together with Manchester United. But I feel like they're going to get off really soon.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Rohan, because my worst nightmare is 2 years from now, we're going to be like the Manchester United fans and Ole. It's just why is he still here?
Exactly. I mean, and to talk about it, actually, Ole has just been in charge for 6 months more than Arteta.
Really? That's it.
It feels a lot longer, and I bet
feels way longer.
Tell you that too.
Yeah, and so that's the difference, right? And now they're gonna. I am sure that few more results like this, he's gone. They're gonna hire Conte or someone serious, Conte or Zidane or someone, a serious manager like that, and then we'll be hanging around by ourselves, being like the sole banter club here. It's disgusting. Make the call. He's not good enough. Let him go. Like,
I think he made. I think I've been critical of Mikel Arteta's substitution, especially in the earlier part of his managerial. But yesterday, I think that he made some good calls. He took off Saka. He brought on Sambi Lokonga to try and give us a little bit more in the midfield. And then he really
I think that was forced.
But then he really wanted to win the game by bringing on Lacazette and Martinelli and almost putting us into a 4-2-4. And as for Vieira outclassing him, I think Vieira actually let us back into the game by taking off Edouard and trying to stick on what they had. I think that they should have continued to have gone for it, and that allowed us to get that last minute equalizer. And as for people online, I saw a lot of people online saying that, look at them celebrating the goal like they've just won the World Cup. Well, what is it that you would prefer to see? We've just got a last minute winner, and the way that Lacazette was geeing up the crowd. Do you want to see the players celebrating with each other and looking galvanized as one? And or would you prefer them not trying to get that winner, shrugging themselves around, and had they scored, just walking back to the fucking centre circle for kickoff with faces like slapped asses? I prefer the former. That looked like a team that they may have had a bad game, but they didn't give up the ghost. Right? Yes, we should be able to get 3 points against Crystal Palace. We should at home. Those are games that should be bread and butter. However, they didn't fucking just give up the ghost totally and just let us lose. They did try it. He made the substitutes came on and they tried to do things. There's so many times sometimes when you see a manager try to change it around and they bring on the subs and you're like, well, might as well just kept it as it was, because the subs don't look interested either. The subs look like they'd prefer to be sat back on the bench still. But both Martinelli and Lacazette, they tried to change things. It might have been a little too late, but I think that sometimes the players have to take the credit as well as the bad shit, and the manager as well. I think the manager made the changes at the right times yesterday with what was faced in front of him. He saw that something needed to happen and he tried to do it.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Because coming from where you are, Stan, in a better place than most of us are. Okay, it's easier to be really super pumped about that lack of goal. Let me give you an example though, because an Arsenal win, lose, or draw is a totally personal thing, based on a person's character. Ryan and I agree 98%, maybe even 100% of what went wrong in that game. He said earlier in the show, he was pounding the table. He was ecstatic when Laka tied the game. Now remember, me and Ryan feel the same way. When that goal scored, I didn't even give it the slow golf clap. I was like, whatever.
That's crazy to me. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just trying to point out, you cannot put people in certain categories. You can't.
No, I get it.
It's not the frustration of the 80 minutes before that, right? Like, it's just so disinterested. Like, it's gonna paper over the cracks, right? That we didn't lose, like you said, right? Oh, he's such a great manager. He made a change. That substitute scored. So he's a great manager. We've got to keep hold of him. It's the players, That's the sort of thing that we have to go in with. I mean, it's like. I was not super pumped. I was obviously happy. You didn't want a loss there. In reality, now teams like Crystal Palace are our rivals, right? Like, I mean, we took 2 points off of them. That's the stat. That's the stage that we are in. So that's the reality that we should talk about. We took.
Just let me say one other thing, because I don't want to come across as like Mr. Negative Yelly guy all the time.
Oh, too late for that, Glenn.
should have fucking started that on show 1.
Yeah.
If you were ecstatic about that goal God bless you. There's so little to be happy about in the world right now.
No,
If that
no.
made you happy, I don't take that away from you. But don't take it away from me
No,
that
no,
I didn't
Glenn,
even give it the golf clap.
let me just reiterate.
No, I
when
agree.
I'm just say, Glenn, when me and sort of like Ryan say like, well, we're surprised. We don't. I'm not judging you on that. If you're like, well, fuck that. When I was like, when that goal went in, and I'm usually a very quiet football watcher, other than like North London derbies and that. I sort of like, I'm like, oh, fuck that. And I tut a lot. I huff and puff and tut a lot. I'm a huffer and puffer and a tutter. But yesterday, when that goal went in, I jumped in and I went, yeah. And that wasn't because I was ecstatic. That was relief.
Yeah.
It was relief. Like,
I think for me, it was
because I've not seen Arsenal do that in a while. Usually, if it's that late in and we've got those extra minutes, we usually don't do enough to put it back. How many times have we been maybe playing someone like a Man United and we've been ahead, and then for whatever happens, they make a change in the last minute, they fucking nick 2 points off of us and it's a draw, and we feel like we've lost 2. Well, for me, it kind of was the other way around. The only downside is it was against opponents that, as I said before, we shouldn't be in that fucking situation, really. Shouldn't. We should be, that's our bread and butter games. But that's the reality is we're a team that's finished 8th 2 seasons in a row. So from thinking, fuck, with our unbeaten one has now finished here. We start again now. That's a run of 5. Now we start again from the beginning. For me, and I probably would say Ryan, it was relief. And I think the players, what you saw from the players weren't going, yeah, we got a fucking draw. They were like, yeah, we didn't lose. We fought back, and they should take something from that. They can look at each other and say, "Okay, we can hang in there, lads. Let's try and build from that."
How did you react, BG, when they tied it? Oh, I thought you froze. How did you react when we tied it?
I'll be damned.
That's what you said.
That's exactly what I said. The ball went in the net. I looked at the TV and I went, "I'll be damned." Literally, I'll be damned.
Am I still alive?
Yeah,
and Stan could not have put it any better. And I'll even more reason why I went crazy was because it was Lacazette, and because he came on the pitch, he made an instant impact. He made a run into the box. He got a corner, and he goes up to the crowd like, "Let's fucking go! Come on!" He got the crowd fucking pumped back up. Since what minute? I mean, the crowd was phenomenal. I'm not taking anything from the crowd, but the crowd was extremely loud for the first 20 minutes, and they were still singing. They were doing their stuff, but they weren't anything like they were in the first 20 minutes. And then when Lacazette came on and he went like this, like, "Let's go," with his pumped up face, the crowd got fucking loud back to when we scored the goal in the 8th minute. So yes, I was very happy for Lacazette, for him to get the crowd pop, because to me that's how I am. I feed off, people going crazy. I feed off everyone's energy.
It's a natural reaction. It's a natural reaction.
And I like Lacazette. I think he's a good player. Like,
it is. This is a game. This is why I love it, because because it does relate to hockey so much for me. It is literally in the moment gratification, right? When you score a goal, there's nothing that, yes, there's play that builds up to it, but it's instantaneous. If you're watching American football, short of a long pass, that connects, it's a buildup. They march down the field, right, to score a touchdown, and you kind of like, okay, you see it, it's coming, right? Basketball, it's constant scoring. It's all but boring, in my opinion. Baseball is the same thing. It's methodical. But hockey and football, it's boom, pucks in the net, boom, balls in the net. Like, it just out of nowhere, it just happens, right? You know what I mean? And so it's a natural reaction when you have something like that to react the way that you did, Ryan, to react the way that the players did. I was checked out at that point. I was emotionally uninvested.
Yeah.
And my thought process was at 85 minutes, there's still a chance to score 2 goals. At 92 minutes, now you're playing and praying for a draw. And the prayer was answered. We got the draw. My reaction just, I'll be damned. Like, son of a bitch. and that was it. Because at that point, I was emotionally uninvested in it.
And also, too, for in my specific situation, I streamed it because Peacock's a son of a bitch, and I don't know why I was on Peacock, but it was. Don't shut me down, anybody. But I went onto Twitter. I thought I was behind by a minute or so, and I went on Twitter during stoppage time to check something, and I see people pretty much conceding the loss, being like, "Oh, Vieira outdid us again," or not again, but Vieira outdid us. This, that. Oh man, what a shit show! And then literally 30 seconds later, we score. So it's I already assumed we'd lost, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna watch the rest of the game, whatever. And then Lacazette does that, and then I'm just I lost it.
At the end of the day, however you reacted, you're not wrong.
Yeah. No, yeah.
It goes back to what Glenn said. Talking about scoring in the end when there is no hope and all of that. You remember Bournemouth 3-0 down, and then we scored 3. Olivier Giroud went and celebrated, and everybody was on his case. Why was he celebrating, and why was he not going back to the center circle and trying to score the next goal? I mean, we used to have that. Now today, if we're 3-0 down, we probably concede 2 more. That's what's going to happen. So that's the state of this team right now. It's just abysmal. It's just taking my interest off.
The state of this team just has me emotionally uninvested.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly,
I'd like to say that on something positive. That yesterday, what Lacazette showed me something that I really enjoyed. Lacazette showed me what I would call top tier professionalism. This is a player who is obviously it sounds like he's on his way out of the club. There's been stories for how many months about this club, that club might be interested, that, he's been offered in makeshift deals for this player. It could be all clickbait, but he's around in the news for this. And he comes on yesterday he could be sitting there thinking, well, this manager's not even starting me. He comes on, and the way that he got into the crowd's face to get a 12th man and then to get a goal on top of that, for me, if you're one of the younger players on the team, that was a valuable lesson that you should be able to take away from that. It shows you about how the game is not lost until the final whistle is blown. Until then, you don't stop, because it could be the difference of 3 points, 1 point, or none. And maybe come the end of the season now, that 1 point could be a difference that we got. It might help us in some way, rather than no attitude yesterday, no professionalism. Lacazette comes on, he does it. He's thinking, I don't want to get my kit dirty. It's not worth my wife taking it home for my wife to wash because I don't even like it here. They're getting rid of me. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't want to get his boots dirty or anything. I loved what I saw from Lacazette, and it kind of surprised me. And it also showed me as well that when you hear people talk about players downing their tools, then I don't believe that to be the case, because he is part of the senior players, right, of the club. He's part of that leadership group, and fair play to him, commend him. And there's probably a shout now that moving forward and looking at the next game that we play, of maybe finding a system that incorporates Lacazette. Maybe he starts ahead of Aubameyang, or they both start. Aubameyang scored as well. So there's a good shout for that, and fair play. That's what he should be doing. He should be giving the manager something to think about.
Yeah. And I think when he came on, I expected Aubameyang to go out on the left and this guy to play, Lacazette to play through the middle. But they were interchanging the position a lot of times. Lacazette was slight left. He wasn't out on the wing, but he was slight left, and Aubameyang was going through the middle, and that was creating confusion there. They had that good work play as well. At this point, there has never been a doubt about Lacazette's work rate. Right, there's been questions about Aubameyang's work rate, but if he's going to put in performances or at least the effort like he had against Crystal Palace, from this slump or for this young team, maybe we should start these guys and let them lead the way for these youngsters and set the tone. these are the guys that they can look forward to. Because in our team, actually, it's just Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Thomas Partey, who are experienced players. Rest everybody else is a youngster. It's sort of a they're not established pros in the sense that they're not just experienced players. They're not, right? And maybe Arteta should lean on that, and instead of like just persisting with the same thing and not getting anywhere.
It's very tough because when we do play Lacazette and Aubameyang as a front two, it usually doesn't bode well for us. And it's funny because a couple seasons ago I was on it. I was like, Aubameyang and Lacazette, they need to play together. This is what we got to do. I've seen it. I don't like it. I don't want it. I don't know what you do. I think me, Max, Scunny, the Arse Bros, Manny, Toby, we all said this. We think you need to start one and you have to bring on the other. Whether you're subbing let's say Aubameyang starts and Lacazette comes on, you don't necessarily have to bring Aubameyang off, but you have to. In my opinion, you can't start both. And I actually had a discussion with Max on Twitter today, or yesterday into today. He thinks that you should start Aubameyang and bring Lacazette on, which, obviously he did it, worked out well. I think it's the opposite. I think you start Lacazette, you have him do all the hard work, you have him dig in, fight for the ball, do what you got to do, and you bring Aubameyang on with the legs and the movement and the pace at tired defenses, and I think that's what you should do. But I don't really see us doing well with a front two. We could talk about the Villa game if we want to, but Villa have been playing with a back three, so having a front two kind of plays. No one cares about the Red Sox, Tanner. Having a front two doesn't really, a back three kind of helps out. A back three is a good counter against a front two, but I just think we need some kind of presence in the middle of the field. But we need also that hard work in the 18-yard box. It's tough because I think Aubameyang, he showed that he wanted to be there, and I think that's my biggest criticism of him. This season and even last season, you just don't know when he steps in the field if he wants to be there or not. You don't know if he's there or not. He obviously wanted to be there for the North London Derby. He did show passion. He wanted to be there for this game. I need that every game, though. I get it. You're a professional athlete. You pay lots of money. Cool. But, you need to be 100% invested. Every game should be the North London Derby to Aubameyang. And it sucks when you see him kind of just uninterested. And to be fair, he's been good lately, but I don't know, man. If that performance from Lacazette after him just lifting that crowd up, I don't know. I think Lacazette needs more game time. I'm not going to say he needs to start every game. He needs more game time.
I think against a back three, Lacazette could be a better shout actually, because he's going to drop deep, and we are not going to play balls through. So Aubameyang, and if there are three guys who have to mark Aubameyang, they'll mark him out of the game. But Lacazette dropping deep, they probably wouldn't know who to follow, who has to follow, and probably leave spaces in behind, which others can exploit if only we were that adventurous to do something like that, but probably not.
Glenn, Pepe, go. Glenn, you're muted.
Let him go. Let him go.
Yeah, keep going, Glenn.
Shut up. My kid was being loud. I forgot I muted myself. Okay. Pepe, I think a lot of people are forgetting that gorgeous curling shot that, the goalie got a hold on, and Aubameyang with that great, one-timer into that volley into the net. But Pepe is inconsistent. As far as next game, I don't want Partey as a DM, and I want him to have, if you want someone to be a DM, El Neni can play DM. for F's sake. But I'd rather see Lokonga in there. You take Pepe out. And you know what? I think Laka deserves a start. I know Aubameyang was full of energy that most of that game and scored a goal, but I think Laka has earned a start against Aston Villa.
So Pepe, huh? Okay.
We've already established you were right about Pepe and I was wrong, you little shit.
What did I say about Pepe? I didn't say anything. I'm saying it.
Stan, Pepe, go.
I just think that this is a player that is something about Nicola Pepe that really frustrates me. But if you look at yesterday's
most
game,
frustrating Arsenal player, no one's even close.
But the 2 goals yesterday, did they happen without what Nicola Pepe's involvement was? Because, as I mentioned earlier, the 1-2 with Tomiyasu bringing it into the box, and that shot was going in. If the keeper didn't get to that, that would be a Nicola Pepe goal.
Yes.
Right? He forced that
great
save.
Great save.
It was, yeah.
But there's something about him which is, I kind of used the word, Arsenal refers to him as chaos. I refer to him as a bit of maverick. And there's something about both him and Martinelli that have that maverick thing about them. But I actually think that you need to have 1 or 2 mavericks in your squad. I don't know if you can play them both at the same time unless you're going to go to what we did yesterday with a 4-2-4. But there's times when I watch Nicola Pepe and I'm so frustrated at him. But when it comes to our goals, he seems to be involved. So I don't know what you guys think. I don't know what you guys think and what the chat box thinks. I mean, would you start? I mean, Glenn's already said that he wouldn't start him in the next game.
Only because I agree with you, Stan. If except for a brilliant save, that would have been a goal. But how many times did he bomb down the wing and not create anything? He looks like that cartoon character that goes spins in a million circles.
It says Tasmanian Devil. I get
yes,
it.
That's what he's like going down the wing.
I see all of that, but the 2 goals that we got yesterday, I don't know if they happen without his involvement. And that's do you know what I'm getting at?
No, you're preaching to the choir. It's his inconsistency that makes me crazy.
I always thought Sanchez was a little bit maverick, but not as bad, if you know what I mean. It wasn't as high up on the scale, but he had that about him. When I mean that you can have a player where, for 75 minutes or so, it's almost like that. You're thinking to yourself, well, should we take him off? He's having a bad game. He doesn't seem to be doing much. Gets the ball, it's a misplaced pass or whatever. And then on the 80th minute, they do something and it leads to a goal. And invariably, that's a point that you get. So
the issue is...
So you think he needs a run of games? You think he needs a run of games, Stan?
I've always felt that Nicola Pepe is a player that needs to have a run of games. The more games he has, I think that he gets into a rhythm a bit more. But I do think that the price tag around his neck has totally fucked up the perception of him. If we paid 35 million for him, I don't know if he would be as enigmatic as he is, as divisive as he is. But there are times when I think to myself, we should move on and get someone else. But invariably, when he's on the pitch, he does help. Even if it hits the crossbar and it rebounds out and someone's on the end of it, it doesn't happen if you didn't take that shot to get it off the crossbar. Do you know what I mean? It's so...
In terms of sheer skill and talent, Pepe is right up there, right? What's frustrating is that he doesn't use it enough. He's so one-footed that he's too predictable.
But he scored
he dwells too much on the ball.
Hasn't he? He scored quite. Remember, he was so one-footed. We used to have all the jokes. We used to cover all the jokes and puns about him. But he seems to have improved that. He scored quite a few on his right now.
Yeah. And the season that we bought him because the season before he scored 22 goals, right? But I think that he's not. The difference between him and Sanchez is that Sanchez was ruthless. He wanted to score that goal. He came into that game wanting to score that goal, wanting to take up that onus. But I think that's the problem with this Arsenal team also, that everybody wants to play pretty football, pass it around, etc. But nobody wants to score that goal. Nobody feels dejected if they haven't scored. That is what Sanchez was, right? Like Sanchez would be distraught the day that he did not score.
Yeah.
That's why he was scoring 20 plus goals. But our people are too happy with, they think that, oh, assist is good enough. So somebody else's job is, the most difficult job is to put the ball in the back of the net. The way Pepe is, when he came in his first season, I thought he could be our Robin. Robin was a one-trick pony. He did the same thing. But how many goals did he score?
Yeah.
Accuracy is missing, and that ruthless touch is missing. That's the problem. But he dwells too much on the ball, gives the ball away, and then we're again, our backs are against it. So
You have to ask yourself, Stan. Stan, you have to ask yourself, because I would like to see Pepe get a run of games, but at whose expense? That's the thing with me.
My worry is as well, if he was like that, if he was part of the younger part of our team in that 23, 24 age bracket, you could say to yourself, there's going to be some improvement in some of those areas of his game where he frustrates. But he also is part of the senior squad now. He's 26, 27. He's not a baby anymore. He's not one of the young kids. So I don't know whether that's a part of his game that's going to improve.
I think with Pepe, I mean it. I think people just see that price tag. I think they see that price tag and just say, oh, he's a 72 million pound player, and he's not. He's a 30 million pound player at best. And the expectations for him are just way too high. He's just not a guy that's going to score 10 goals in this league. He's just not going to do it. So I mean,
who's going to score the goals? I mean, at the end of it,
as long as Mikel Arteta is the manager of this football club, there aren't going to be many goals being scored.
I saw a stat today, ESR Saka, what is it? 8 games they both played, 1 goal, 1 assist. They're supposed to be an outlet of part of the outlet of the team.
If that's our scoring. Thomas Partey just scores 0 goals, right?
Unless it's an international duty.
That's not happening.
Well, there's a good point there. All of these guys go away and they look like world beaters when they go play for their international teams, and then they come back to Arsenal and they're bang average players. So what's the problem? And then I hear that it's lack of effort. Oh, it's something their head isn't in it. Oh, they're getting paid for this, so they just don't care that much. They're showing that they're talented players. This is a talented club.
Yeah.
We have good players in this squad. It's the manager.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't down to anything more than the manager. And you can't tell me that over the span of the last 18 months, give or take, maybe 15 months, all of last season and what we've seen this season, you can't tell me that the way that we play, that's the players doing that and not listening to what Arteta is telling them to do. Because
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it is in fact them not doing what Arteta is telling them to do, if they're not following instructions, then why does he keep picking them?
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't matter how you slice this. It comes down to Arteta, and it's either his tactics or it's his decision making, right?
Yeah,
and the fact is, go ahead, Glenn.
It's like 2 years and we have no idea what he's doing.
No. See, that bothers me.
All right, tell me
why. Say it bothers me because you know what he's trying to do. You see what he wants to do. They're doing what he wants them to do. The problem is there's no he has coached out all of the creativity in this team. He's hamstringing this team in attack. Everyone has a place where they need to be.
Can anyone on the panel
hang on,
say
Glenn,
what
Glenn.
formation? Can anyone on the
Glenn.
panel say? Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
Stan, what did you say?
I was just going to ask you, are you trying to say there that you can see what it is that he's trying to do, but in your opinion, what it is just isn't very good? It's not that he doesn't have a plan. It's just that the plan isn't very good.
His
Whereas
formation is
Glenn's saying he doesn't quite see even what the plan is. Is
right.
that what I'm hearing?
No, yes, there is a plan and there is a formation, and the formation is a 4-3-3. So he wants to play 4 across the back. Then he wants to play at least this is I'm gonna go with what he did yesterday. 4 across the back with a defensive midfielder. That was Thomas Partey. Ryan will disagree, but I think that ESR and Odegaard, even though Odegaard played way deeper, they were the other two in midfield. So the midfield, if you're looking at it, if you're looking at the field vertically, the midfield's a V, all right? So you've got Partey down here, Odegaard up here, and ESR up here. That's your midfield. But now here's the problem. In attack, it's a 3 attack, but it's an inverted V. Because Aubameyang can't play that false 9 role that Bobby Firmino plays at Liverpool. So if you're going to play a V in midfield, right? Okay. The next logical conclusion is that your attacking 3 are going to be a V above that. It can't be basically a diamond with when you combine the midfield and the attack, because now you have a massive space in between your number 9 and your number 6, right? That whole area there is just an expanse where there's nothing. The whiteboard is right here. Right I don't have the magnets for it though to really show what I'm trying to say here, but the bottom line is his system is based on possession and it's based on intelligence, but nobody moves. Okay? Yeah. Because what he's created is you need to be here at this time and you need to be here in this situation. And when the clock strikes 12 here, you need to be over there. That's what it comes down to for him.
Yeah.
It's all far too rigid.
True that.
I just don't. BG, just explain to me this. Can you understand how I am frustrated and don't know what he's doing, because we go into Crystal Palace with 2 players playing out of position, which is Odegaard and Partey. I mean, they were playing deeper than usual. With the experimenting, that's what I mean by I don't know what the F he is doing.
I don't think it's experimenting. I mean, what you're saying is that do you really think that in 22 months of being on the job that he still doesn't know what he's doing? Or let me rephrase that he still is undecided and is still experimenting with everything. He's not. This is what he wants to do. It's a 4-3-3. It's possession based. It's a holding 4-3-3 is what it is, and it just doesn't work.
All right. Now, well, at least we agree.
You can say, well, the players aren't talented enough to operate the system.
But he just bought the players. He bought the players that he just was given the money.
And you just made my point for me.
To go and buy the players for the way that he wants to play.
So
all right.
Is it a case of then that they've got to grow into it, or did he buy the wrong players for what
they're not that's the thing though. They're not they're not going to grow into this.
Exactly.
Because the one difference that you see,
buying the right players, right? For you know what I mean?
The one difference that you'll see if you watch City and you watch Arsenal and take the talent of the players out of the equation here. Okay. And yet there's something to be said for the talent of the players. Don't misunderstand me. Better players they're better players from the Department of Redundancy department. But what City do though is they run onto the ball. They put the ball into space and let someone run onto the ball. There's constant movement and motion where Arteta has come in and said off the bat, okay, the year, we win the FA Cup and he comes in and what he has said is, this is what I have to work with, right? So I have to this is what I have to work with. It's not really my team. I got to get the best out of these guys, right? And he did that. It was, okay, the best thing I think for this team is to play a 3 at the back. Two wide fullbacks and play on the counterattack, utilize our speed. But then the next season he comes in and what does he say? His mentality, and it's of course all speculation. But the next season he comes in, he says, okay, I got a full season now. This is my first season now. Still doesn't quite have the players that he wants because he only bought Thomas Partey that summer before his first full season. But he says, but now it's time for me to start implementing my system, my style. And I have to beat it into these guys because I'm a rookie manager.
And at that moment, Willian walks through the door.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's looking, and when you look at Willian at Chelsea, what was he? A very cerebral player. He was very cerebral at Chelsea. That's what Mikel Arteta was looking for. The Willian thing, just real quick, not for nothing. It was a mistake in hindsight, but in the moment, he matched exactly what Mikel Arteta was looking for. Maybe not age-wise, but that's what he's looking for. Arteta comes in his first full season and he says, I got to beat it into these guys now. I have to make them respect me. I think he's, 4 years older than Aubameyang? 5? So, I mean, they theoretically could play against one another, for crying out loud. So he comes in and he has to make an immediate impact, an immediate statement with this group of players to say, okay, this is my club. We're going to do it my way. And it has come, he's cut off his nose now to spite his face with this. It doesn't work. He knows, if he thinks it's working, I don't know what he's watching. But there's no plan B because he's just hell-bent and stubborn on beating his system into these players.
Is there any credence to what is it Ryn, RYN says? Standard and consistent. Arteta knows it's ugly, but we're not losing.
Sure. Because you know what? I think it was Ryan that said earlier, the board, ownership, Josh Kroenke are probably in the background looking at the results and saying, hey, we're what now? We're 6 unbeaten in all comps right now. If we throw in the Wimbledon League Cup match, we're unbeaten in 6.
Yeah. We
have not looked good for the vast majority of playing time of those 6 matches. And I say vast majority because even throw 90 minutes in against we didn't look good against Wimbledon.
Can we be honest though?
But hang on though. Because you were right, I think, when you said they're not looking at anything but results. And they're looking back yesterday and they're going, forget we played like shit for 80 minutes. We somehow nicked a draw at the very end. We snatched life from the jaws of death. Somehow, some way, we figured it out in the last minute and we salvaged a point. And the board looks at that and they're thinking, great job, Mikel. Fantastic. Absolutely.
I hope you're wrong because remember that long unbeaten streak with Unai Emery, okay, where we should have lost a few of those games, but we got lucky. I just feel like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going to fall for it, we're still unbeaten.
But the other thing that I think a lot of people have to understand here, and I'm not saying it's right, it just is. And this is my opinion, but because we are owned by Americans who own American sports franchises, they're going to do things in a very American sports way. And it's not right because it's a very different system, but that's the system that they know. And if they can be blamed for anything at all, the investment argument with Kroenke, that's out the window. Because if you tell me that they're just they don't invest. They don't invest. They need to invest. Then you're simply, you got to be fucking kidding me.
No one cares about the fucking Red Sox.
I care about the fucking Red Sox.
All right, fine. Shut up. I'm taking over. I'm taking over.
First of all, I've been quiet most of this fucking show, so I'm going to have my fucking say. Anyway, are you done?
I'm sorry. I want to keep us on topic.
I'm on topic. I just said fuck. That's all I said. Anyway.
No, you said, are you kidding me? You gotta be
whatever I said. I don't know. Anyway,
What was that face?
Hannah, the way you
I admire your multitasking, BG.
And of course, here top of the ninth inning, and they bring in Evaldi, and now it's 6-2 Astro. Anyway,
the way you talk about our American owners, I'm envisioning a time where our players will come out onto the pitch individually with their own theme music and video package on a big screen.
How badass would that be?
Like,
right? How badass would that be? Anyway, they play entrance themes at the end of halftime when the players are coming back out of the tunnel.
Yeah,
So
some of our players
may
have
as
their
well
own
just
pyros
take
as
it.
well.
No, what I'm saying is what they need to do is appoint someone at the very top. That I don't know, where does the buck stop before ownership? You know, like we argued about this last week with ownership and their involvement. I don't know how much they're involved in decision making with Arsenal, but they're not necessarily involved in decision making with the Rams. Everybody thinks they are. I know they're not involved in decision making with the Avalanche because I know the structure of that team top to bottom. I know where the buck stops. They're not approving or disapproving anything. Here's a budget. Go build the team. If you don't do well, you're fired.
I think Josh and Stan, or not Josh, sorry, Edu and Mikel, they took a plan to the ownership. They said, this is what we want to do. They explained this youth thing, this, and it's been signed off. Hence the £150 million that they were allowed to go and spend. I'm just reading the other day, our Adidas deal brings us in 60 million a year. So that was probably part of it. And it's nice to know that we get that money. But they've not done all of this like in Edu's bedroom with no one knowing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the Quonkies are like, what's going on up there? Go upstairs and tell the kids to be quiet. They presented a plan and it's been signed off. And I think that you combine that with the gamble that the ownership took by hiring Mikel Arteta in the first place. It's a gamble, right? It's a gamble.
And what did I say before?
They're all in. They're all in. And when you do that, you've got to go close to the wire before you say we fucked up and made a mistake.
Look, they did it. They did it with the Rams. Okay. So if ownership are the ones making the hire, and I'll get into this in a minute. If ownership are the ones making the hire, if they're the ones saying we're going to hire Mikel Arteta, okay, they've done it with the Rams with Sean McVay, young, first-time head coach, and they did it with the Avalanche with Jared Bednar. Now, the difference with Bednar is he'd done it just at a lower level. So he was more like Lampard, where Lampard had managed in the championship, then came up. Bednar had managed in a lower level league and then came up. But there's if you look at the way they've run their organizations, they've done it with young, inexperienced coaches, and they've gotten by. The Avalanche, one of the best teams in the NHL. The Rams right now, one of the best teams in the NFL. So it's working for them. It's not working at Arsenal because it's a completely different animal. They don't understand that. So what they need to do,
I can add on to that. I can add on to that in like 30 seconds. But go ahead, finish, BG. But I want to add on to what you're saying.
Can I just ask you, how long these young managers like Steve McVay and their other franchises, how long did it take before you started seeing, them bearing fruits and improvements?
The Rams were in the Super Bowl the first year under McVay. So right there you got lucky. I mean, you got lucky there. Okay. When you think about it, okay. But then you had the Avalanche have just been built into a perennial Stanley Cup contender over time. They brought in Bednar.
That's hockey, right?
That's hockey, and I would say over probably, I don't know, Ryan, Glenn, what would you say, 2 to 3 years under Jared Bednar, and they've become they've become a top contender in the Western Conference for the Stanley Cup. So
what you're saying there is that their fans and the ownership with that hockey team, they trusted a process, and it took 2 to 3 years to bear fruit.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I would say, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just give me 30 seconds. What I'm going to say is painful, but to me, it's the God's honest truth, okay? A little less than 2 years ago, we were even talent-wise with Manchester United. They eked ahead of us when they got Bruno Fernandes. Now, less than 2 years later, I know they're going through their troubles now, but I believe Manchester United is powerful enough to contend for any trophy they are involved in. And where are we? Where are we? This was less than 2 years ago. This is the main source of my frustration.
Well,
I mean,
and,
just talking about that, like just 10 months ago, there was no difference between us and Chelsea, right? There was a 3-point difference when we played them on Boxing Day, and they changed their manager. Look where they have gone, and look where we have
Thank
gone.
you, Rohan.
This is a very Machiavellian plan by Arteta and co, right? Like you get 150 million and you sign 3 really good players, then you're hedging your bets on today that I will bring you success today. But you buy a bunch of kids, you have no pressure to do anything differently because you need to succeed like 2 years later. So you've ensured your place in the club for 2 years. And if like that's a master stroke, if somebody has to do that, like if I am not confident of my abilities, I try to rake in as much cash as possible, and in the garb of creating a team. And like, what is to say that these 23-year-olds are going to be better than better than the other players, and they are going to turn into world class players? What is to say that Newcastle was not going to be taken over, and there's not going to be another takeover? And by the time these players do come good, there are so many teams that are so powerful that we are nowhere in contention, and these players want to leave. So the Premier League is not like that. You can't. That's what Chelsea coming in 2003, Roman Abramovich coming in, proved that you can't wait for tomorrow. Arsenal has done that. We've hedged our bets too much on the British core, on these youngsters, everybody under 23. All of this happening so that we can get success 4 years later. Here, teams change every 2 years. Every 2 years, some team can be shit, and then they can be at the peak of their powers in 2 years, in 10 months, 6 months. They won five Ballon d'Or nominations for Chelsea. Did you think that in December? They were as bad as us.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, Rohan. That was perfect.
I think with Manchester United, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned them, they're almost a little bit of a mirror image of ourselves, in that I do believe that both of us and Man United, if managed by a high-skilled manager, would be performing better. There's no doubt in my mind that Manchester United should be performing, I think, with the squad that they've got, not alone their first 11, but their squad should be performing better. And for whatever reasons, they're sticking with their manager. And it's a little bit of a mirror image of us, because I do believe, and I mentioned it earlier, and I think Ryan kind of agreed when I talked about we're getting into that Lampard territory now, where I'm beginning to think that with the managerial know-how that Michael, let's call him Michael Arteta has, thus far, he's kind of plateaued while his education is still going. Whereas if we got rid of Mikel Arteta tomorrow and we brought in Tommy Tickle, if he was available like Chelsea did, I think that you would see instantly better results. I believe that. However, our owners are like, well, we see that, but we're willing to induce the pain until he comes good. I just don't know how long the fans will accept that, and if the results will get to a stage where they're not going to be able to see that through because we're facing maybe a relegation thing. But I definitely think with that, he's in that Lampard era. He's plateaued for me. I don't see us.
I mean, it's like I said at the beginning of the show, it's Groundhog Day. We've seen the same thing. This is the same thing in and out all the time. This yesterday wasn't a one-off. Yeah. That's the norm.
That's the norm. Yeah.
The first half against Spurs was the one-off.
West Bromwich
was the one-off. What's that, Stan?
I still think that the North London Derby and West Bromwich Albion have been the two games that I've enjoyed the most this season so far.
Well, I mean, of course, because we dominated Spurs for the first 45 minutes, and West Brom is West Brom, and we beat their U18 side. So I mean, of course, but the fact is even that West Brom, that'll never happen again under Mikel Arteta, at least not here. He'll never duplicate. And again, that consider the competition when we played that West Brom match. But what we saw against Brighton 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, what we got yesterday, that's the norm. That's the plateau. Like Stan just said, that's the plateau. That's his level. This is his level. Every 2 hours, it's right on 2 hours.
Large Marge.
Yep.
Marge.
She doesn't go to sleep until I'm done with the show.
That's a large Marge alert right there.
Yep. Sure is. Sure is.
Hey, as just real quick, my last thought is please don't put Partey as a DM and put Lakanga next to him and let Pepe sit and keep ESR in there. I know you guys are probably going to do lineups, so that's all I got to say.
Nah, that's too much, and we're at 2 hours right now.
It was such a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'll see you all soon, I'm sure.
See you, Glenn. Thanks, buddy. But anyway, like I said, I can't overstate it enough. Yesterday was the norm. This is where we are. This is who we are. And again,
I was speaking to a Chelsea fan friend of mine, and I was telling him I don't agree with, Chelsea's thing has paid dividend, and I don't agree with how they manage their club, where they're changing every 2 years, every 1 year, even though they're getting success, right? Like a lot of managers have been successful there, but still they've got sacked, right? For a 4-month run of not doing well, for a 6-month run of not doing well. I don't believe in that, right? But we've seen this for 22 months now. There's no point in doubling down there. That's a stupid move to make. And economically, it does not make sense because our club is losing value year on year. We don't I don't know who becomes Arsenal fan now. The only people who become Arsenal fans now are people whose dads are.
I was just going to say those who are born into it, right?
Yeah, and then they hate their dads for the rest of
because they look at the you made me follow that.
Exactly. I mean, if you started watching today, would you really support Arsenal?
No. Now, if I'd have become a supporter, if I would have, let's just say 5 years ago is when I'd have really gotten into this, would I be an Arsenal supporter now? Not on your fucking life.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I would be I wouldn't be a United. I honest to God, probably, given the very loose connection that I somewhat have to Christian Pulisic. If I picked a team, it'd probably be Chelsea because of him. I know his dad. So
it's either that or for me it might have been when Klopp came and started turning it over, because it was the underdog story that got me into Arsenal, right? It was, even though Arsenal and Manchester United were the top dogs, between Manchester United and Arsenal were the underdogs. So it's that story, right? So between City and Liverpool is going to be Liverpool, that sort of a thing. But those teams are different. In 2.5 years, by the end of this season, I think by the end of his third season, Klopp was in a Champions League final.
Yeah, it was the end of his third. Yeah, it was his third year.
His third year, he was a Champions League finalist. Fourth year, he won the Champions League. Fifth year,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
He won the Premier League. That is, and they were. Have you seen the first squad that he had, the first starting 11 that he had put in? So bad, much worse than what we have today.
I just
real manager can do.
It goes back to, in my opinion, first of all, they're going to hang. They, meaning the owners, meaning KSE, they're going to hang with Mikel Arteta. And I mean that in so many ways. I mean that phrase in so many ways. Edu and Arteta, for some reason, are inexplicably linked. If one goes, they're both going to go. That I don't understand, because I think Edu's done a fairly good job of recruiting with no scouting department. I like the players that we've brought in. They're talented players. I'm a fucking broken record, man. It's Arteta. It's Arteta. It's Arteta. It just, you don't have to fire Edu. I don't think you do. I don't think he needs to go. But they need to bring someone in. If Josh is the top dog, okay. If Stan has basically said, Josh, Merry Christmas, I'm giving you a football club, and I'm giving you one of the biggest football clubs in the world. So it's Josh's show to run, but then he goes and it was Vinai was at the top, then it was Raul, or it was Ivan Gazidis, and then it was Raul, and now maybe it's Vinai, maybe it's Tim Lewis, who's a fucking lawyer. Where are the football men? Where are the football people? There's no football person at the top of this. I don't want to call it a pyramid, but at the top of this totem pole, there's no football person. As Ryan has said, where's a Ralph Rangnick? Where's a Mark Overmars? To be the guy that's going to hire, the technical director or the director of football, who is then going to hire the head coach. You know what I mean? Like this idea of the autonomous power, or somewhat autonomous power, be it one person or in this case two, really, that's gone. You need more people. You need more voices in the boardroom than that.
We've said this before, haven't we? And it's a big worry that, like you say, Edu and Arteta seem to come as a pair, right? So if there's going to be a massive change, and the board say, okay, this is not working, we need to bring someone else in, and they both go, the board need to have somebody who's going to recommend the manager to them. That's how it works. The manager might have an idea, but they're looking for recommendations. They're not football people. They're looking for someone to say, we want to pick this guy because of A, B, and C. And then on top of that, when you make an approach to the new manager, and let's say in this example, it is a Conte, who is going to sit down with Conte and sell the plan? Right. This is what we're planning to do.
Right. But shouldn't it be the easiest? No. But Stan, shouldn't that be the easiest sell to say that here's the key to the house?
No, that's the thing. That's the thing, Rowan. I don't want to hand the key to the house to one person. That's to me, that's not smart. That's not smart. That's
if you don't know, so that's how Chelsea is run, right? Like Chelsea.
You bring in Conte, you hand him the keys over, and he goes, right, cheers. And then like 6 months go by, the next window comes, and he goes, right, I want to buy this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. And they go, we ain't got the money for that.
But we do have the money for it. We're the highest spenders in Europe. We do have the money for it, Stan. We are the highest.
Within reason. Like Conte's not going to come in and say, I want to buy Mbappe and Haaland all in the same window.
So that's the thing, right? Like I had a tweet here.
You have to sell the
in the last 3.5 years that Arsene Wenger has gone, we've spent 450 million pounds on players, first team players. 26 first team players have joined either on loan or through a transfer. I mean, that's 150 million per season. That's the amount of spending you're doing, right? Like then why don't you, like, that is what I don't get. See, if I know something really well, then I can trust my knowledge to take unconventional options. But if I don't know anything about a subject, I'm just going to trust the brand, and I'm just going to trust someone who has, some sort of goodwill and who has done something, right? But these guys are opposite. They don't know anything, and they hand the keys over to people who don't know anything themselves.
Well, which is why when you bring someone in, if you're going to approach someone like a Conte, you've got to tell him what the plan is. This is what we're going to do. You will have this. We expect this. You can't just
So where does that plan?
And then every time he makes a request, you say, "Oh, we can't do that." I mean, "Oh no, we can't do that either."
Where does the plan come from, Stan?
Otherwise, you just bring in someone like an Eddie Howe. He's just glad to be there.
Where does the plan come from?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You would think
who
that
sells them the plan. So that's where
it should be that Ivan Gazidis position.
Yeah, but
it needs that role that we don't have that person, like you say.
It needs to be the Ralph Rangnick
the bean counter.
It needs to be a Mark Overmars type. Look, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I would be happy with Arsene Wenger being in that role. He knows football. Now, I'm going to say this, and this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. Arsenal got very lucky when they hired Arsene Wenger.
Of course.
Not lucky from the standpoint that he was out there and available. Lucky that it worked out the way that it did.
Yeah.
Because that's a virtual nobody coming to one of the biggest clubs in the world and making them even bigger. But I would accept Arsene Wenger in this top of the totem pole role, okay, to come back and say, okay, I'm going to create the plan. I'm going to create the identity of the club that trickles down, right? Because the plan, do you know why Mark Overmars and Erik ten Hag work so well together at Ajax? Because they've bought into the Ajax plan. They've bought into the Ajax identity. They didn't come in and create an identity. We lack it, so someone has to come in and create it for us. But they bought into the Ajax identity, and everything they do is with that in mind. And it's someone like that needs to come to this club and take the reins. I mean, look, I keep going back to Ralph Rangnick because it's like, dude, he's in Russia, and he's a brilliant football mind. You think for 1 minute that he wouldn't come to London and work for Arsenal? You're out of your mind. Of course he would leave.
Mislintat was supposed to have been that person.
And that would have been, but what did they do? Let me go back to Rowan's point. Okay. So what happened with KSE? They were sold the Barcelona dream by Raul Sanllehi, right? That's what happened. They were sold a bill of goods by a shyster, by a con artist in Raul Sanllehi. That's exactly what he is. He's a fucking con artist. 72 million pounds for Nicola Pepe, and he got 20 million of it. He's a con artist. That's what he is.
Just in case any legal people are listening, allegedly, we hasten to add about the 20 million.
He's a con artist, and KSE bought it hook, line, and sinker, but he came with one thing on his CV. Barcelona. That's what they saw. That's what sold them. Sven Mislintat 110% should have been the guy at the top.
Yeah.
And in that moment. And when you look at what he's done with Stuttgart, Ryan, jump in here at any time. I'm giving you every fucking softball in the world to knock out of the park here, and you're just sitting over there. I don't know what you're doing. I hesitate to speculate. See what I did there? But you see what Sven Mislintat did is doing with Stuttgart right now. And I'm not saying that they're going to challenge for a Bundesliga title. They should stay up because he's building something there that's going to be a club that stay in the Bundesliga. And that's what this club, Arsenal, this is what we're missing. It's forget the identity part. We don't even have somebody to create the identity. You can't let KSE do it because they can't spell football. They can spell American football. They can't spell proper football. So, sorry. This is like the one big thing with the ownership that it's not investment. If anybody says, oh, they just, well, then I'm sorry. You live in a FIFA world.
Yeah, but like if you
it's
look
not about
at
buying the most expensive players. It's about buying the right players.
If you
and
look
honest
at
to God, I look at this and I say, we've done this. We're a player or two off. But this side right now, the 11 that we ran out there yesterday, I wouldn't have run that 11 out there, but they're talented. I don't like Partey, ESR, and Odegaard all in the midfield, especially the way that he deployed them. But there's talent there. They just need a coach to bring out the best in them.
I think that's how Chelsea is run, right? Roman Abramovich, he's put that Maria woman there, who was used to work at his like some sort of executive at his oil company. She does the negotiations. She handles them. The message is pretty simple. Get a top manager in. Tell them the plan is to get us to the top. The plan is to get us into the top 4 in the next 2 years, to be contending in the next 3 years. That's the plan. You don't do that, I don't see it at the end of, I will give you a season and a half. I don't see it. I'm going to rip this plan up. That's it. I'm going to give you 150 million per year to spend. This is your budget. You find the players you want to sign. I'm going to do the negotiations. How difficult is that? Give that confidence to these guys. Like, is it like, am I missing something? Is it?
That's exactly how it works. Ownership simply signs off on the budget. If you want an increase to the budget because you feel like there's a player out there that can make a difference, and it's a difference of 5 to 15 million pounds, you go back to ownership. You say, and you sell them on the player, and you tell them why.
Yeah.
Right. But
or make these players better, sell them. Like, we have spent just as much, if not more, than Liverpool in not so long ago. Like, right? That's what that's the level of investment has been the same. The return of investment has been poor.
We made it, Stan. We made it. We got our haters, right? We made it.
It's funny though, right? Because ain't nothing been happening in Ibiza since 1995, man. But there you go. But thank you for joining us. And I hear what you're saying about shifting accountability, but you've obviously just come in at this point. Do you know what I mean? Because I think us 4 imbeciles here have given plenty of accountability to the players as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, look, there's in this situation, right? There's plenty of blame to go around. I mean, there really is. But at the end of the day, you can't change 25 guys all at once. You can change one or 3 or 4, because I'd get rid of the entire coaching staff.
They're his players. Why should he not take the blame?
Right. At this point, yeah. How do you argue with it? Yeah, they're your players. So these are the guys that you apparently wanted. And from everything that I've read, which is why I'm not blaming Edu for this, because he wasn't even signing off on it. These weren't even really his transfers. So these were all Mikel Arteta recommendations, all Mikel Arteta players. So that's why I'm not really even blaming Edu. Was like lead negotiator, I guess. But it starts at the top, and the idea that Kroenke is going to sell, it's not going to happen. But they need to make better hires, right? They need to do a little bit more research when it comes to hiring someone at the top. Tim Lewis, the attorney, sure, he can be there for accountability, right? He can be there for due diligence, but he's not the guy that should be at the very top making footballing decisions. I'm not saying he is, but he definitely shouldn't be. Nor should Vinai. I have no idea how to say his last name. So, but it shouldn't be either of those two guys. We need a football person in this role. Someone above Edu, in my opinion, and it trickles down from there. So we're at almost 2 hours and 20 minutes here, fellas, and it's funny because we're at the highest viewership we've had all night. It's fucking weird how that works. We're sitting here for almost 2.5 hours, and we've got the most viewers we've had all night. Ryan, you've been very quiet, and I miss your voice, so I'm going to give you the final word first.
So Pepe, my thoughts on Pepe are, I don't know why he has to hug the touchline every time. I think, he's the kind of guy you bring to a pickup game where he's very good and he's got the moves, he's tricky. But once you see him a few times, okay, I got him figured out. He does the same thing every time. He's very predictable. I want to see him play in more centrally. I would love to see him in a 2 up top at Lacazette. That'd be kind of fun. My last word is, I hope that, right. I'm only on beer number 3. No big deal. I mean, this Villa game is going to be tough. Danny Ings usually has our number. I do think obviously I thought we were going to break Palace, and I think Palace was, a team that we could definitely exploit. I think the same thing about Villa, but the way we're playing, I think, we're going to be our own. We are our own X factor. I think we could beat the shit out of Villa, but I think if we don't come and we do the same shit we've been doing, don't look good for us. I hope Lacazette gets more game time. I hope that Odegaard shows up, and I just hope that. Yeah, damn right. Yeah, dude, Mavropanos is like, I think he's scoring. I think he has a goal. He scored a goal in the last 3 games. Guy's a beast. His last goal was actually very nice, by the way, long range shot. But yeah, we push on, and Glenn did mention, I don't know how you could be excited, but I am excited for Friday. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be excited. I hope I see progress, even though like I said, I think he hit a brick wall, but I just hope I guess the way I am right now at the club, I constantly want to be proved wrong. And there's just players on the team that I absolutely love. Like, I love ESR. I love watching him play game in and game out. I don't care how bad we're playing. I love watching that guy play so much. And I hope like I said, I hope Lacazette gets more minutes. And something we didn't touch upon, I Ramsdale, his passing is just it's so fucking good. Like, it makes me cry a little because it just shows fucking Leno, man. Why couldn't you just do this? Fuck. I'm starting to, really kind of count Leno out here, which is upsetting to say as a fellow German. But yeah, I'm excited for Friday. Let's go.
Rowan, final word.
Yeah, we've got to make amends for the dismal performance. Like we had said, from 24 points, eight games that we were going to play, I had expected 19 points. For me to make a judgment like we had discussed earlier, you make a final judgment on Mikel Arteta at the end of this spell of games when the international break comes about, which is at Watford, and we've already dropped the points that we could drop. So now it's time to gain the points, gain the wins. It's obviously not going to be easy, but this is supposed to be the easy run, because if we don't do well now, just imagine what we are going to do in November when we have to play Manchester United, we have to play Liverpool, we have to play all of these guys. It's going to be crazy, So, and the first game of the week, of course, of the game week. So you don't want to go into the rest of the game week thinking that everybody's just going to go even more ahead of us. Everybody kind of holds on to the fact that we're just 4 points away from top 4. Then get that close. Get that first win. Put that pressure on the teams ahead of us. This was a golden opportunity to be, just neck to neck with Manchester United. And we blew it. Let's take that chance. But we've been outplayed by Aston Villa twice last season. They had a banger of a season last year, so that's fine. But they've lost to Wolves last time around after scoring 2 goals. They lost to Wolves in the last 10 minutes, so they're shaky too. And let's try and capitalize. Need that win.
Yeah, Stan.
For me, I'm glad that we got a game coming up so quickly, because it means that we don't have a lot of time to lick our wounds. It's time to go again. It's done now. We come on here and we talk about it, but it's time to look ahead now. A bit gutted though, because it's a 12 o'clock kickoff over here, and I'm going to be working on Friday, so I'm going to have to shut off social media and watch it on a replay when I get in. But like Ryan, I'm very excited to see. I'm so glad that it's such a short space now. I want to see a bounce back. I don't want to see too much changes with the team. There's a shout, I think, to have Lacazette in there. He definitely earned. There's a shout that he might have earned a starting place, but it doesn't mean that Aubameyang should be dropped either, because he also provided one of the goals. So it's going to be interesting to see what the manager does. And like you said earlier, apart from this week, we're basically playing 1 game a week for most of the season. And bar injuries, everybody, if they're fit, should be ready to go.
Yeah. Oh my. Looking forward to Friday, but not hopeful. Looking forward to it, but not hopeful. So I know. I guess all I can say is don't drive angry. For those of you who've seen Groundhog Day, don't drive angry. So my thanks as always to Stan the Man, Ars Bros, Ryan, Rohan, the Footy Esquire, and just angry Glenn from New York. It's always a pleasure to do this with you fellas. It's always a good time, always good chat. Stan, you want to shout out the chat for me real quick?
Yeah, man. A couple of new faces. RYN was in there. Tubbs MD2BO is another one that I've not seen in the chat box. My favorite of the night, Pills_in_Ibiza. I hope you come back and join us again. He was tuning in from Twitch. Riddy, BX Gunner, Jeff, Stay Fresh, a lot of the usual ones. Thanks for coming in. Do the usual honors on your way out. Drop a like. If you're not subscribed, hit subscribe and the bell so that you can come and catch us. And again, we love that you guys just come by on a Tuesday night and listen to us chat about the Arsenal. That's all it is. It's 4 guys that can't all meet down the pub and have a pint and chat about it. So we do it here on a Tuesday, and we're glad that you guys come into the chat box as well to join the fun.
Here. That is all we got for you. We will be back next Tuesday. Same Arsenal time, same Arsenal channel. Hopefully talking about a better performance, 3 points, and let's see if we can't get a little closer to that top 6 and that top 4 by the end of the match week. So we've hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel, so we will be looking to do the jersey giveaway here shortly. So stay tuned for that. If you're not already subscribed, again, please do so. Let's keep growing the channel. We would all greatly appreciate that for sure. Yeah, that's it. Like I said, appreciate all you guys. It's been good footy talk. We'll see you out there.